Welcome guys. So this is the second session. Actually, इसके पहले वाला session I am not sure if I'm going to upload for two reasons. The first one is that I really think that this interface is better because I think the website also is a little easier to handle than handling PPTs. Anyways, so we'll start the RC session. This is the RC that is in front of you. There is a PDF that I have already shared in the Telegram group. You can go and you can read the PDF, all the questions over there. Answers are not given in the PDFs and explanations are also not given in the PDF. There is no point in giving answers and explanation. Then what is the point of me making a video? Okay. In any case, I just wanted to clarify one more thing. So the only thing that can help you grow as an aspirant is that sometimes your intuitions need to be sharpened also. You need to understand. So you will see between two options how we eliminate one option. Sometimes it is gut feeling also, but then exactly what is that gut feeling based on? That is your intuition. And थोड़ा सा जुगाड़ लगा करके भी सॉल्व किया जाता है कभी कभी प्रॉब्लम्स को. Anyways, that's a different type of a thing. Right now what we are concerned more is we will be just concerned to read the RC. So the RC, a part of the RC is there. I'll read it out for you. I hope you guys have already read it. So if you guys have read it, you can probably move it a little forward and you can already go to the analysis. I will make sure that I try to make this video short, but doesn't matter. It is not my concern to make video short. I will always keep on saying that you can watch the video in 1.5x speed. So that is something that you should do on your part. So let me read out the RC passage for you. It starts off with this. A man-made spur juts into the mighty Jamuna river known as the Brahmaputra upstream over the border in India near town of Inayatpur. The solid wall was built expensively to control the massive flow of the river, but erosion now eats deep into its foundation and the river is reclaiming the land once again. Last year people lived beside it in makeshift shacks. Now where their homes once stood, there is only water. Now the very first paragraph tells me that this is about this river Jamuna, which is also this Brahmaputra river, which is called Jamuna river in some part of some other place. Okay, which place we cannot know by the very first paragraph, but that is not the point. The point is I can take a wild guess, but that is obviously irrelevant. But then it's an easy read. It is an easy read, and as you can see, the questions are also given in front of you. So I will show you the questions. Also remember one thing. The PDF that I have shared with you guys will also have the question. So if you want to go ahead and see the question, that is also fine. I mean, that is no, but yeah, don't read the options because the options will sort of, give you some extra information that you do not know. Questions, if you want to read, probably you can read the question. So quickly I'll read the questions. The success of restraining the river flow at Nakalia Bazaar can be attributed to. Which of the following titles would be most appropriate for the passage? The author ends the passage on a note of. Which of the following statement is not true according to the passage? This is a clear infer type question, so I'm not really bothered about. So I actually have to read. So as you can see, the interface is such that one side I have the question and one side I have the passage. I hope I am able to make all the justice with the system that is available in front of us. Having said that, now let's delve into the passage. So the first paragraph has already given us the introduction of this river, Jamuna. And now the paragraph number 2. Let me take the pen so that it will become a little easier for me. Okay, so all right. The great river draws from a huge heavily populated basin home to hundreds of millions of people. So this great river is drawing from this. Okay, so I have a bad habit of explaining. Okay, so please consider this thing that the explanation will also be helpful for you. So what I would do is I'll just simply read. I hope you guys can understand English. So that much is there. So the great river draws from a huge heavily populated basin home to hundreds of millions of people over the centuries they have learned to live with the shifting course of the river and with its immense flow. At its peak, some 100,000 cubic meters of water rush in every second, enough to fill 144,000 Olympic size pools per hour. But that flow can be terribly destructive, alternatively depositing huge quantities of sediment, hundreds of millions of tons a year, then devouring the land elsewhere. So basically they are saying that this is the destruction that the river can cause. Okay, so this gave us the introduction. This is the introduction. This is talking about what exactly and how exactly is the river causing that problem, whatever that problem is. Now let's see. Okay, so this probably, if you want to write, you can write intro. Okay, and this is the problem. So if you want to perhaps make notes, you can make, otherwise there's no requirement. So I'll not unnecessarily I'll do that. Okay, so we're reading this one. This year the river will swallow another 1300 hectares of land, predicts the Sarkar Center for Environmental Information in Dhaka, Bangladesh. This is capital scientists say that 64,000 people in Bangladesh are displaced each year by the erosion of river banks. So this erosion is caused by this river Jamuna ka flow, and these 64,000 people are displaced every year. This is a very specific information. I can keep that in my mind. At the same time, this is something that I can always come back to. So I cannot emphasize more into saying that if you want to probably not want to pay attention to this, it's completely fine. All right. Many push from the landlord in the morning can become erosion. Many push from their homes by the river end up in slums in the capital. The landlord in the morning can become baker by the if by evening goes a traditional song, the game of the river. Now this is a very interesting thing, because this is defining a very interesting characteristics for the river, which is that this landlord in the morning can become beggar. So this is a traditional song. If I were a test creator, I would probably not ask you question based on this, because everybody would be expecting you to make a question on it. Okay, just a second. Yeah, we'll start from this one. The cost of restraining its flow with stone spurs and other construction used to be prohibitive as well as ineffective. It costs about $20 million a kilometer to protect a kilometer of embankment using stones struck in from India and paid in hard currency. Now a relatively simple solution is being tried to protect millions who live near the river. Some 25 kilometers, 16 mile downstream from the spur is the Nakalia Bazaar. Now see, I remember from my initial scanning of the question that there is a question which is based on this Nakalia Bazaar. Okay, and they are directly giving you information about Nakalia Bazaar, so you have to be a bit attentive to this thing, which offers a strikingly different scene to Inayatpur. A big riverside market contains a permanent structure. From hot setup protected by embankment comes the clicking sound of fly shuttles worked through hand looms. The economic activity is a sign that locally the game of the river has changed and its power has been reduced. Here the river bank is protected by low-tech means, heavy sandbags. Filling and installing them is a labor intensive, but workers are abundant and cheap. Sand is also plentiful. The overall costs are low, some 2 million per kilometer. Since around 100,000 kilometer banks along the river probably needs protection, the difference is cost is immense. So initially when they said that, I remember that initially when they said that, this is $20 million, which was the price of that stone spurs that was delivered by India. Compared to that, this is relatively much cheaper, 2 million, which is a sandbag initiative, the low-tech initiative. So this is creating a lot of difference, or an immense difference for that matters. All right, so that much is clear. Now let's go. Okay, I think we have come to the end. Some environmentalist, okay, Some environmentalists suggest it may be better to, at least beyond towns, to let the river go where it wants than attempt to wrestle with such a powerful monster. But armies of donors, consultant and development experts have been determined to fight for the sake of those who survive on the river edges. Okay, so basically environmentalists are suggesting it may be better at least beyond towns to let the river go. Okay, beyond the town. So beyond the town, they are suggesting that let the river go and take its own course, because it's such a powerful monster. There is no point to wrestle with it, or there is no point to fight with. In other case, it anyways will not make any sense. Okay. Now this paragraph, prospects for the sandbag campaign are looking up. The government at least has started to share information with local people, warning about immense threats of erosion. Along the river, a red flag placed in the ground means high risk of erosion. Yellow means that still have time to be out to prepared. Now the Asian ADB and the World Bank promised 1.5 billion to stabilize 150 kilometers of embankment along the Jamuna and Padma. A simple bagging technique used in Bangladesh could next be adopted across the border in India, which has plenty of fertile land to protect in its eastern provinces. In nearby Assam state, the Chief Minister Tarun Gogoi has suggested that India is 10 years behind Bangladesh in training its part of the river. Now what is the significance of this thing? That this Tarun Gogoi fellow, Chief Minister, he is saying that India is 10 years behind Bangladesh in training, because we are also going to face a similar situation in our eastern provinces. So they are suggesting that we should also take a note from the Bangladesh chapter, which is the bagging techniques that they are using, the sandbag thing. It's part of the river, and that the country has much to learn. Okay. River narrow and widen. This is the last part. Widen depending on the flow of the sediment. Okay. And even as a result of earthquakes that can dramatically shift their course. So earthquakes can dramatically shift their courses also. Experts say the effects of one earthquake in Assam in 50 was still being felt 4 decades later. Today much of the river in Bangladesh is 12 kilometer. Much of the river in Bangladesh is 12 kilometer wide, but Sarkar scientists from SEGIS say with sediments flow declining, the river could narrow again to just 6 kilometer. Nothing will be permanent, but more stability may yet beckon for the people whose lives have for years been defined by the river. So again, I think the last one, because I remember there was a question about the tonality. So tonality, I think, and whenever I need to understand the tonality, I will always go to the last passage. Yes. So the last passage basically ends with a optimistic tone. So that much is there. Now let's look into the questions. A fairly simple read, a fairly easy passage. Now let's see how the passage, the questions will be. Okay, rather. So the first one. Okay, this is the first one. The success of restraining the river flow at Nakalia Bazaar can be attributed to. So we'll probably go to Nakalia Bazaar, and I think I have read Nakalia Bazaar somewhere. Okay. Okay, so this is it. This is it. Now I am looking to make some. There is a question. The question that asks you is that the success of restraining the river flow at Nakalia Bazaar can be attributed. So we know that this is because of the sandbag techniques, the low tech techniques. So there you go. The low tech means the heavy sandbags. Okay, but this is one of the key elements. Now let's see what we can do. Minimal dependence on human labor. This is the first option. Is it true? So we are going by the elimination option. Minimal dependence on the human labor. In the very first line of this paragraph itself, say the filling and installing them is labor intensive. Although in the very next line it says, but workers are abundant and cheap, but that does not mean that minimal dependence on human labor. So this goes away, which also mean all of this also goes away. Okay. So this question basically boils down to two parts. Hope that makes sense. Now the next one is abundant availability of construction material and low overall costs. The one thing that they're constantly saying in this is, from that 20 million to that stone spurs taking from India, 20 million stone spurs which was taken from India. Okay, I think I have, yeah, so trucked in from India, they have reduced the overall cost to some 2 kilometers, and I think perhaps this is the single most important reason for them that has resulted in restraining the river flow, because the sandbag technique really helped them lower the cost by a significant margin. So for me, I think this could be the answer, but this option, abundant availability of construction material, what about this one? Please understand, they have used a very interesting word, construction material. What is construction material? Here it is written that sand is plentiful. If you look into the passage is talking about sand is plentiful, but there is no mention of a construction material whatsoever. Okay, I hope that makes sense, right? So the construction material, I am a little bit skeptical about this, so probably I know I will come back and I will tick this one only, but for the time being I can just leave it at it. Okay, so I will not be very hasty about me willing to put in an answer. Okay, so I probably will come back and I'll tick an answer. Okay, let's go to the next one. Which of the following titles would be most appropriate for the passage? For this we don't need to go to the passage so much. The sandbag, so let's look at the options. The sandbag campaign, obviously this is not about a sandbag campaign. Taming the Brahmaputra, first of all, this passage is not talking about Brahmaputra. Okay, so Brahmaputra is the name that is in India. They are talking about the situation in Bangladesh. So these two options are, so easily I am able to eliminate two options. Now the thing is game of the river and shifting course of the river. Okay, now see which of the following titles would be most appropriate for the passage. Now understand one thing, the shifting course of the river is dependent. What is the name of this river? This Jamuna river, basically, yes, it is shifting its course, but the shifting of course is not the crux of the passage. Okay, because this is entirely Bangladesh dependent passage, and it is talking about the landlords in the morning. So this song also, okay, landlord in the morning can be beggar by the evening, something of that song. Okay, some traditional song that they already have. This is the game of the river. So game of the river they have used, and also the economic activity. If you just see below that passage, you'll see the economic activity is a sign that locally the game of the river has changed and its power has been reduced. Game of the river has changed and its power has reduced. So probably I would want to use this line to maybe mark the most appropriate title as the game of the river. Shifting course of the river will always be a second priority. So if I have to choose between two options, and if there is only two options that I am unsure about, I don't know what I am gonna do. Okay, so maybe I will not tick this also. I'll come back at it after some time, but I know between A and D I am confused. Okay, shifting course, do I have anything related to the shifting course? I think somewhere in the last part, I think it was nothing will be permanent, but more stability will become for the people. Okay, I don't think there's a shifting course. I think the very first paragraph mentioned the shifting course. Yeah. Okay. The great river draws from a huge, heavily populated basin, home to hundreds of millions of people over the centuries. They have learned to live with the shifting course of the river Okay, I did speak some of the 100. Okay, so see, one thing I would like to mention, which is very striking to me, probably that will help me to whether to realize whether I even want to tick this question or not. This can become a difficult question. Okay, understand this is a difficult question only because the closeness of the option. Now, how do I eliminate the closeness? Shifting course of the river and the game of the river. Understand, this is talking about Jamuna river, and Jamuna river has to do with the entire Bangladesh. This shifting course, however, only deals with the people of the river, of the bank side. Okay, I think somewhere over it is written that the 64,000 people in Bangladesh, so these are the people who are along the river banks. Okay, so displaced by the erosion of the river banks, and these 64,000 people are pushed to the capital. Okay, pushed to the slum, end up in slums of the capital, and the landlord in the morning become beggar in the evening. So this is encompassing a certain section of the population, this shifting course of the river. Okay, so on the broader picture, if I look at the very crux of the passage, this is about the game of the river. I hope that makes sense. I hope I am correct. Yeah, it is correct. Anyways, I don't really want to see. I probably will come back later. The author ends the passage on a note of. Now, this we already have discussed, that there is a certain amount of optimism. So we will read the last, and you can read it from here also, you can read it from this. Rivers narrow and widen depending on the flow of sediments, and even as a result of earthquake it can dramatically shift their course. Experts say the effect of the earthquake in Assam in 50 today, Bangladesh Sarkar and the scientists say that sediments flow with sediment flow declining, the river could narrow again to just 6 kilometers. So from 12 kilometers it will narrow to 6 kilometers. Nothing will be permanent, but more stability may yet beckon for the people whose lives have for years been defined by the river. So for years the lives are defined by the river. Understandable. Read the options. The first one, cheerful optimism. Cheerful optimism. I don't think, yes, there is a bit of an optimism, but that is not cheerful optimism. Cheerful is like, cheering for that, oh, ho, ho, everything is great. No. Anticipation, yes, anticipation, I am taking anticipation, I'm keeping it. Despondency is, lack of hope or something of that sort. Okay, so despondency, no, they have a certain sense of hope. Skepticism is again, doubting something. So whether it will happen, whether it will not happen, skepticism, this is also not true. So the only answer choice that helps me is this one, which is anticipation. I hope that makes sense. Okay, let's see. Yeah, this is correct. Okay. And the last question, which of the following statement is not true according to the passage. Now, okay, I hope you guys can see it. Restraining the flow of the river using construction material like stones, spurs, etc. did not yield positive result in Inayatpur. Now see, first of all, read the question and understand the question before going into the options. The question says which of the following is not true according to the so 3 of them are true, 1 is false. Okay, so we are looking at true options. Our job is to find out the false option. All right. Which of the following statement is not true according to the passage? The restraining of the flow of river using construction material like stone, spurs, etc. did not yield positive results in Inayatpur. This is actually false, because no, sorry, this is not false, this is true. In the very first paragraph they have said that the stone wall that they have built with the stone spurs and everything else, it is slowly getting weathered. Okay, so basically slowly and steadily soil erosion is eating into that wall, but that does not mean it did not fulfill the purpose that it has built for. So it did it did the purpose that it was built for, but now it is matlab abhi problem start hua hai because of erosion or something of that sort, but it did what it was assigned for. So if you would ask me, this is correct. This is true according to the passage. The river Brahmaputra is known as Jamuna in Bangladesh. Totally, this is true. Environmentalists are apprehensive about restricting the flow of the river, at least in town. So I'll keep this. I'll reread this. I'll come back at it. India must emulate the example of Bangladesh in training the river Brahmaputra. This is also written in the last paragraph. So if I go to the last paragraph, probably I'll be able to. This Tarun Gogoi was talking about, right? Let me go back. The government at least okay, when now where is the 10 years behind? Yeah, Tarun Gogoi. So if you look into this line, let me take the pen. Okay, Tarun Gogoi has suggested India is 10 years behind this thing in training. It's part of the river that his country has much to learn. So what basically this option is also saying, India must emulate the example of Bangladesh in training the river Brahmaputra. Definitely, if they would have said Jamuna, thoda sa difficult ho jata. Okay, I read Jamunwa. Jamuna. Okay, so if they would have written Jamuna, then probably this would have created a bit of an ambiguity, because Jamuna is the name that Bangladesh is used. But again, this would have made the question a little interesting. But they have straight away written Brahmaputra. So yeah. Anyways, so this is the answer. C is the answer. Let me check. Yeah. And for all those, let me take you back to the first question also. I think we haven't checked the first question. Okay, so this is the first question, and as you can see clearly in your screen that this C is low overall cost is the answer. Now I will definitely, for obvious reasons, I will not show you the solution, for a simple reason is that I am not looking for picture perfect solutions. I am looking to give you the answers. I have shown you that this is the correct answer, but from the next passage onwards, you will have to take my word with its face value, because please understand that I will also check before saying that this is a correct answer or a wrong answer. But it is not important for you to see a picture perfect answer. For you, it is important to understand what is the reasoning behind me eliminating between two similar options. Because I always say this, and I'll keep on saying this, that it is only the closeness of the options that makes an RC difficult. It is not the language, it is not anything else. Yes, I mean the language can become a little bit of an issue for you, but then what are you preparing for? Preparation means you're preparing for a tough language, right? So this is a past mock CAT. I hope it helped you. Thank you very much.